Hi everybody, welcome to the channel Just Thinking Out Loud. My name is Desi-Rae. Today with me I have a very special guest. His name is Austen Fletcher. He is a YouTuber who does a lot of interviews. Maybe you have heard of him. He's been on a couple of other people's channels to speak about what he does. I think he's a very interesting person and today we're going to have a chat with him. Hi Austin.
Hello, Desiree. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming on. The first thing that I really wanted to talk to you about was just your general background. I've been looking over lots of your videos. I get a sense of your politics, but you don't really speak really about yourself. Someone would have to watch you interviewing and see your responses to find out what kind of person you are. And could you just talk about how you got into doing what you do and why you do it?
Cool, definitely. So my background, I'm from New York originally. I'm 28 years old. I grew up on Long Island. I went to school at Dartmouth College in New Hampshire, and then I lived in New York for 2 years, from 2012 to 2014. And I had like a finance Wall Street job, which is like kind of
Oh,
fancy. I had to like wear a suit every day, and I had no beard, and I had like a
oh,
normal haircut, and I had to shave every day. I had to wake up at like 5 in the morning for like 2 years. It was rough. It was cool though. I liked it. It's a cool experience. But then after 2 years, I fulfilled my program, and they were at that point we were doing the transition meetings into promotions. And instead of going through the promotion process and taking the associate job, which is the next level job, and taking a raise, I said I'm actually going to move to California and pursue entertainment and comedy and writing and producing. I didn't really know what that meant at the time. I just knew I wanted something different. So I packed up my car from high school that my parents gave me, and I drove to California. I live out here now. I've been here for like 4 years, and I was doing comedy. I was trying to do stand up. I was trying to write scripts. I was trying to like figure out the whole entertainment aspect and like break into LA, and it was pretty tough. And then the election came around, and the country kind of just went like this. And
yeah.
with that division, I mean, came an opportunity as well because I realized, being in LA especially, that the right and even the middle is so unserved in entertainment when it comes to even Netflix, Hulu, HBO, everything on TV, movies in general. Everything is geared towards the left and kind of has like a leftist spin on it. And I was realizing a lot of the people on the right are underserved and aren't having their voice represented in entertainment. So I started doing my channel where I go to protests and I interview protesters with a mic taped to a wooden spoon. And the reactions I've been getting are pretty funny, and people seem to like him. It's just a lot of crazy people out there with a lot of opinions. And I try to interview everybody, and I interview Trump supporters as well. But the footage I've been getting has been entertaining. It's been really good, I guess, content for the right. So I've been happy to kind of play my role in that regard and provide something to the right, which I thought was really unserved, for the last few years.
Okay. I think that it's quite interesting to me to hear someone do what you're doing, that is having a YouTube channel, in terms of taking it from the place of serving the right, because I've never really heard that. Most of the times it's more about, as what that's what I'm doing, is getting my own voice to be heard. But you're like, I'm going to provide value, I'm going to provide a service to these people who are really underserved. I completely agree that everything has this leftist bent to it, and I think I've said this before and many people say it, that I think what the middle and the right need to do is to become very cool in order to win over all of the rest of America. And I think reaching out through entertainment is a great way to do that. So I was watching some of your videos, and one of the first questions that popped into my head was, how does it feel? I know this is a part of why you do what you do, because I went and read some of your descriptions and stuff like that. And how do you feel about the ignorance that people show when you're like showing them facts? And I was just watching your video about, well, this wasn't on the street interviews, but people reading facts about immigration, some of which I didn't even know all the numbers you were giving. And how does it feel when you're out there speaking to people who are screaming and basically really marching, feeling so enthusiastic about something, but when you really grill them, they don't really know what they're talking about?
Yeah, I think it's a necessary thing because I think a lot of these people at these protests, especially, are the loudest, and their voice gets credibility just because it's loud. So the news will cover it and say, "Oh, thousands of people come out to town hall to protest X, Y, or Z," And if you actually, from afar, that seems like, wow, that's insane. People are upset. They must be justified because they're so upset. But if you actually come closer and take them out of the group and kind of, single them out and say, okay, what are you protesting? What are you mad about? What can we do to fix it? Those are, I think, the real questions that need to be asked. Otherwise, we'll just blindly give these people credibility. And that's kind of what's been happening over the last few years. The left has been able to take control of so many aspects of our society and culture just because the right, I don't want to say has been lazy, but there's almost like a libertarianness to it too, where people are kind of like, yeah, just go do whatever, don't bother me. But now soon, the further we go with that, the sooner the walls start closing in and people are going to start being bothered. So I just thought, what can we do to wake the people up? So I took it to the streets, interviewed these people, and my goal was to have left-leaning people, or people who thought they were in the middle, say, hey, wait a second, I'm a liberal, and that's not a liberal. That's not what I am. I don't want to identify as the same thing, because once they disavow these people, then they're coming closer to realizing the same thing the right should realize, which is, we're pretty much closer to the middle than the media will have us think. So it's like if I can show someone a video with crazy leftist protesters and they say, those people are pretty bad, that's not who I am. And it's cool. And then when they show us alt-right crazy people with, tiki torches, I'll say, cool, that's not who I am either. We're in the middle. Let's be rational. Let's have a conversation. Let's support the president. Let's support the country. Let's support the military, that kind of thing. So there's a point where I want to win the people in the middle and slightly to the left over and have them realize these things. The people I'm interviewing are too far gone. So they're just kind of the butt of the joke, and I don't see them recovering from that.
I'm wondering if you really planned this, since your background is in comedy, but why the wooden spoon?
So the wooden spoon, well, I have this kind of vibe going already where I kind of look like a liberal. I'm I'm out of shape. I have a stupid fat face and this beard and these crappy clothes. So when I go approach people in the street, they're not thinking I'm a Fox News spy or something. They're they're not wondering oh, who's this guy in the suit and the MAGA hat. I go the opposite. So the wooden spoon kind of just makes me look like an idiot and makes me look, my whole project, my whole crew looks stupid. And then they kind of open up to me more. And the reason I use the spoon is because I have an Italian mom and an Italian grandma. Growing up, if I misbehave, my mom makes me say threatened. My mom would threaten me with the spoon. She would threaten me. So if I ever misbehaved, she would hold it and really threaten me with it.
Oh, okay.
So it's a discipline. It's the discipline that I think a lot of these protesters lack. That structure growing up. It's if you had a disciplinarian, or if you really got a stricter upbringing, you wouldn't really be in the streets having a big temper tantrum, I think. So that's why the spoon.
That's really fascinating to me to hear the whole reasoning behind that. It makes lots of sense. I want to talk about politics more, but since we're on this comedic thing, is there somewhere where people can go and see any of the, I guess, work you've produced other than the stuff on YouTube?
There is. If you go deeper on my Instagram, you'll find some of my stuff. And then there's some YouTube channels. It just depends what people are into. My last project, before all this stuff started, I did John Benet Ramsey, the musical.
Oh, I don't know.
So John Benet Ramsey was the pageant girl who got murdered and no one knew who did it. So it was a very dark comedy. It was a dark comedy, but it was funny. It was funny, but I don't know if people are going to be into it. But once this stuff started, this was kind of I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do exactly. I was doing a lot of writing. I was making some stuff that wasn't translating as well as it should to the screen, and I was really trying to find my avenue to express myself. And then once these videos came around, and I did a couple of them, and I did the editing, and I knew what to get and how to, where to position myself and the questions to ask. Once that stuff started happening, I kind of just put all my eggs in this basket and went full speed ahead. So now that I've, created more of an audience, I'm going to start going back to some more of the produced stuff and some more of the comedy stuff. And going forward, we have some things coming out that we're excited about.
Okay, I might ask you about those things later. I do want to say that I definitely feel your personality when I watch your videos and view your channel, and I like the vibe that I get. So what I want to ask
you see, I got a lot of little secret jokes I put in there, and the editing is in a fun way where it's really meant for the comedy aspect of my stuff is really meant for the center to right leaning person who follows politics to enjoy. Because there's a lot of things
Okay.
people will say that are like, cliche things or like super outdated facts. And I'll include them for the people that know, the truth or at least follow it in a day to day basis. So that's like the
Right.
ideal target audience.
It also tones down on because I do get sort of annoyed. And I mean, I am sure people could find people on the right who maybe don't know their facts well, also. But I do get kind of annoyed when people are saying things, and I'm just like, that's not true, or you didn't even know that. Why are you even saying anything? And when you put comedy in it, it really tones, it quells that sort of like, I'm so upset at this situation, and I think that's great. Um, how would you say that you formed your political opinions? And then I kind of want you to get into them a bit, even though you can kind of get what you think from watching your channel.
Cool. So over the past few years, I've definitely had like an awakening. In college, I graduated in 2012, and all throughout college, if you asked me, I would say, yeah, Obama's a great president. He's doing a great job. He's really great, and he can tell he cares for the people. Like that's about as deep as my political knowledge went at the time because I just wasn't participating in it. So I would see headlines, I would see the news, I'd watch CNN, I'd watch Fox, but just casually, and I kind of think I knew what was going on. And then once I got to LA and the debates and the election started, heating up, I really realized that the Democrats, in my opinion, capitalize on people like that who think they know what's going on, who think they're moral people, but who don't fully participate and like know on a deeper level and understand the background of the government and politics and how the whole system works. So once I realized that, I guess I was out here because I'm from New York, so I've been following Hillary Clinton for a while. And even though I wasn't the most politically involved growing up, I knew Hillary Clinton was really bad. So once I saw the news start portraying her in a positive way, I was like, "What's going on here?
Wait,
like, what about all the bad stuff?"
how did you know she was bad?
I paid a lot of attention to like the scandals and stuff growing up. I watched. I always knew pay for play was a thing with her. I saw how wealthy she got over the years in office. I mean, she made like hundreds of millions of dollars basically as a public servant, and it's like I kept track of that stuff, and I was like following her, and I knew she was the problem with the government, like people like her, establishment politician, gets wealthy in office, takes advantage of power and helps the people closest to her. Like those things on an easier scale to understand were just like, I don't like her. So when I saw her get the positive press, and then Trump was getting obviously the worst press, I was kind of like, let's give this guy a chance, or what's this guy really saying? Because I knew that Trump didn't have to run. He was a billionaire. He was well liked in New York. He didn't have to put himself through this. And when I saw what he was doing and how he was putting himself through it and taking this abuse from the media every day, his family too, all these things coming up from his past, just completely spun in a horrible way. It really woke me up, and I did some research, and I just really started paying attention and trying to learn as much as I could, as fast as I could. And I guess you'd call getting red pilled. I got red pilled real fast. So within like 6 months, I think, just every day, just watching videos and reading articles and taking notes, like as if I was in college or something. And then by the end of it, once the election came around, it was just like everything kind of fell into place.
I kind of want to give you my story. So I'm not even from the U.S. It's really funny. And even in Jamaica, I wasn't very politically involved because I think politics, they call it politics in Jamaica. That's what it is. I just feel like it's really just too emotional, and people are more along tribalism and whatever their family historically did. But moving on from talking about Jamaica, when I was in the US, I didn't really care much for politics at all. I was actually surrounded, and even now I would say, since I've been in the US, it's mostly liberals that I'm around. The college that I went to I didn't even know to call them that at that point in time. The college that I went to was super progressive, super liberal, and I just thought, oh, everybody's nice. You can kind of just like be open and be who you want to be and blah, blah, blah. And I think I was kind of like you, didn't really understand, but I never really had the desire to. I was there to do for school. I wasn't here to like get involved in American politics or anything. And then I would say my awakening came through a more of a racial lens, which is very obvious on my channel, and just like having people like think things about me, and then realizing that in a way, they use these identities. They, meaning mostly the left, even though I think it's America in general, but I think the left plays it hard when it comes to politics. Um, they use your identity as a way to garner votes and to make people feel bad. I just feel like you're just a pawn in somebody's game, and I really didn't like that. And then you were also talking about the way the media was portraying Trump and versus Hillary, and there's definitely just propaganda in terms of who is being cast in a very positive light versus who's being cast in a negative light. And that was very obvious to me, because then I would go and sort of like look up on all these scandals. Like the people are always talking about like the stuff with the apartments, and calling for some group being some guys being jailed, and they call him racist and all of this stuff. And I would go and look at the stories, and I just like, I feel like people were telling me to feel this level of anger that I didn't personally get from like seeing what they were observing and what they were describing. And then it's also very obvious to me. I have a video called "Fake News and Why It's Destroying Your Brain." The sort of, I guess, tactics they're using in terms of persuasion to try and get you to see something a certain way. And when I think about fake news, I don't really just think about literal misinformation, even though that's out there, but the way it is spun. So you can have the same information, but just the way they say it is like clearly meant for you to see a person, usually see the person's character in a negative way or in a very positive way. And that's just, when someone is doing that to me, I'm just like, I don't trust you, you know? So that for me was a very big thing.
Yeah, definitely. And exactly. And a lot of the things, once the media compromises the character of whoever, whether it's a politician, a celebrity, whatever, once they compromise their character, then going forward, anything that person does or tries to do is looked at in a different way, and like the damage is done. Like it's like, I think Ben Shapiro said it, once you attack someone's motive, instead of the result of what they want, once you attack their motive, then it's like, you throw the whole argument out the window. And that's what I'm seeing out here a lot with people in LA, especially. I always say, pretend it's not President Donald Trump, the guy you hate so much. Pretend it's just President 45. Look at these things on paper. Look what he's doing. Do you think that's better or worse than where we were a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago? So I'll say like ISIS, for example. Like everyone agrees we hate ISIS, right? Cool. Would you agree that it's good that ISIS is pretty much defeated in the last year? And people should be saying yes, but just because it's Trump, they don't want to give him the credibility, to the point where they're like standing in a way on like the side of ISIS by not like acknowledging the defeat, or not acknowledging that it was a problem, or not, all those things put together. So the media has done such I don't say a good job, but their goal was to discredit this guy. And it's been really hard to wake some people up, just because they're so convinced he's a racist, sexist, transphobic, jerk who wants to kick all Mexican people out. And it's like, now we can't get anything done. He's actually having a great year, and like we can't even talk about it because people are like, oh, like what did you say the racist did? Oh, the racist did something good. The sexist, the sexist got the economy. The sexist got the economy going pretty good. Oh. And it's like we can't get anything past that, because you're deciding that if I stand up for the guy or like defend the guy, then I'm just as bad as him, and I'm complicit in his worst actions that were already exaggerated.
Yeah. This is a side note, but I just found out that Trump was involved in WWE. I can't remember what it stands for, which I didn't even know existed. I don't know if you know about that, but like I didn't even know that this thing existed, and so I don't know. It was just funny watching him.
The wrestling one where I think he slapped Vince McMahon.
Yeah, it was that one where they were shaving. They were like threatening to shave his head. I just thought it was hilarious, and that's interesting to me because I just had no, what do you call it? Like he's had such a long public life, like history in the public eye, and I was not really aware of that. All I hear is all the negative stuff, and it's just interesting that someone could be in such a public spotlight for so long, and then it's like everything before just vanishes, and it's all about whatever the media currently wants to say about this person.
People hate this guy out of nowhere, but like 3 years ago, what do you think about Donald Trump? And you'd be like, oh, like, he's really rich, or he's great at business, or like, oh, he's like a billionaire playboy, whatever, and then now, what do you think about Donald Trump? It's like, oh, like he's the reason America is in the position it's in now. Like stuff like that. Like they just,
Yeah.
it's crazy.
I wanted to ask you what you were passionate about, like the issues you were passionate about, and sort of discuss them with you a bit. I guessed from looking at your channel that you cared a lot about the Second Amendment and guns, the violence on the left or the hypocrisy of the left, and immigration. That's just like a few things that popped out while I was looking and
Yep.
give you.
Those are all, yeah, I care about all those things. I do like the Constitution. So whenever I think the left is infringing on certain elements of the Constitution or being inconsiderate with a bigger picture goal in mind, like, for example, the guns, like, they say, oh, we don't want to take your guns. We don't want to take your guns. But in Australia, they did a great thing. And they don't even realize that, like, Australia had a mandatory buyback. So there are certain things when it comes to the Constitution that I really do care a lot about. Free speech, especially. I think free speech is probably my number one. Just because, like, we're seeing it happen in Europe as well. Like, once social media and stuff and the language police start showing up and things head down that road, it really becomes a slippery slope and sends us in, I think, the country in an anti-American agenda into a bad, not in a direction that's not the best for our country. So I think it's kind of more about the Constitution, but like combating the left as much as we can. So I like to do that through Twitter and, calling people out. I think the hypocrisy is a good way to wake people in the middle up when you show them, one of their idols doing something that they thought they never would do. It helps people realize that, maybe we're more in the middle than we realize.
Is there a reason why you chose to do interviews rather than say maybe something like what I do or like what Ben Shapiro does, or more like laying out your logical arguments and giving your opinion on topics? I get you already kind of explained to me why you started doing that, but why not do the more sit down, listen to me lay out the arguments for?
I like that kind of stuff too. But I also think I think there is a cultural war going on, and I think everyone kind of has their role. So we have like the people that are masters at, presenting facts. We have the people that are great debaters. We have the people that are great speech givers. Everyone kind of has their role. So right now, I guess my role would be more geared towards the entertainment side, but in a reality comedy way. So I like my role and like where I'm at on the street. It's like I feel like it's easy to produce. I can make a lot of this content. The protests are like right outside my door in downtown LA. So in the short term, I want to keep doing videos like this, and I'm trying to expand what I have done with other people. So I have like high school kids and people kind of all over the country with wooden spoon microphones going to the local protests in their area and doing something similar. So I kind of want to stay in my lane in a way until I'm ready to branch out, just because I think there are so many people that are, better debaters or better, whatever it is that they're great at. And I kind of want to like, do my thing really well, empower other people to do it too, and then start expanding. And if I do want to do a channel kind of like yours, maybe it'll take a few months to kind of get going, or maybe I bring someone else on board who's better at it than me and let them represent my channel in the one-on-one interview style or in the debate style, whatever it is. I just really like the reality style comedy of just going in the street, just getting real reactions from real people in real time.
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job at it, and obviously you are. It's not just my opinion, because lots of people are fans of your work. This is something I think that might be completely unrelated, but I did see that you had a second channel. It's called Alternative Crypto, and I was just wondering about that because I just started doing some work in that space, and I was wondering what was up with that other.
Yeah, I do have another channel. That's a friend of mine who runs it, and it's kind of the similar we just talked about. Like, he is really smart with crypto, and he follows it every day, and I trust him all the way. So I do own a bunch of crypto, and I have been following it. So I figured so this is like an industry I do care about. I want to be associated with it. So I kind of put his channel attached to mine. And like, I hope to just kind of like do this with him, because I think crypto, especially in the next few years, is going to become more and more popular. And it kind of falls in line with the same counterculture type thing that the conservative movement has become. So yeah, I'm a big crypto buyer. We've been getting smoked for the last few weeks, but I think it's starting to come back now.
Oh, okay. Well, I started sort of trying to produce content for this project
Steam it.
called. No, not
Steam
no,
it.
no, 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 no. I am on Steam it, but I don't know the people at Steam it. But I am not. When I say trying to produce content for, I don't mean just using their platform. I actually have been using Steam it and DTube, and I'm trying to like put my content in other places because YouTube is kind of starting to change its ways. But I meant like actually making content to market and to bring publicity to this project. And I'm just telling you now because I think I
Oh,
should.
okay.
Called Particle, which is a privacy coin, and you should just look into it. I guess I'm.
How much is
giving
it? Is it tradable right now?
It is. You can get it on Bittrex. It's right now. It's at about $12. I think it's. Oh, I forget. I think it's like 8. I don't want to tell you the wrong number. The market cap. You'll have to go and look it up. And it's been around for a while. And I don't want to get too detailed into it, but you can go and look on. If you go to my channel, on my featured channels. There's a channel called Crypto Ramble, and you will see. You can find out tons of information about it. So I kind of wanted to get more into your political stance, but I guess you kind of say what it is without saying it, just on your channel.
Politically, yeah, I pretty much. I think you know all my political views at this point, right?
I'll try and tell you what I get from what I've seen.
Okay.
You're pro free speech. You don't like people being called whatever is the new term is of the day, because that's really annoying and untrue. You're against illegal immigration. You're against like hypocrisy in the media in terms of calling out. Not calling out, say like Antifa, for example, but calling out all right people. I would guess. I don't know about, I guess, abortion or things like that. How do you feel about something like that, for example?
Abortion. I guess this is maybe where I veer a little bit, but I think both sides are like, the left is like, we want to abort all the way up to the day before it's born, and the right's like, we don't want abortion at all. So the more I've been getting involved in politics, the further towards pro-life I am, because I'm seeing more than I realized I didn't know anything. I used to be pro-choice, and I'm like,
towards, that's interesting. Mm-hmm.
So I used to be pro-choice in college. I'm like, yeah, like that's no problem. People don't want to have a baby. You should have to have a baby. And the more I've been getting involved in politics and like waking up and realizing, the more I'm heading towards pro-life, and I'm pretty much all the way there. But I think if we're going to actually compromise and take a stance on certain issues, if one side's saying you can abort all the way up to the day before it's born, and the other side's saying no abortion at all, we're never going to get anywhere. I think the 12 weeks that they do in Europe is like a good compromise. So I'm on that wave of like, let's keep it within 3 months, and first trimester. After that, it gets super sketchy. And I mean, I'm more pro-life now than I've ever been, but I would still say, just to compromise and actually make something potentially happen, I would say let's do what they do in Europe and keep it at 12 weeks.
Yeah, I've actually never discussed abortion on my channel, so I don't think any of my viewers know what my thoughts are on it, which are not that certain. And I think I'm a bit like you in terms of whenever I had thought about it in the past, I definitely was more pro-choice. However, I'm also way, way more leaning towards pro-life, and I'm not so sure about the details in terms of when would be a good time to abort. I kind of don't think there is a good time, but I'm also of the opinion that it's up to people, and they have to live with their conscience depending on what they want to do, even though personally, I am like, there is a life that you are going to be taking away, and it's not really yours. And the very interesting thing is that I grew up in a very, very religious background, both within my actual home and then also just the country and like the school I went to, and they very much pressed the pro-life idea into you when I was younger. However, it didn't really affect me then, and I'm not sure what happened. It's like I was just thinking about it one day, not that I'd never thought about it before, and before I had really always thought that if I were to get pregnant, I have the choice because the body's attached to me. Like I'm giving it all the nutrients. It's like my brain has like decision power over what's going on. And then I don't know what happened. I was just thinking about it one day, and it just clicked in my head. No, actually, this is a totally separate being that would be like in inside of me, and I don't know. I'm actually not sure what happened. It was kind of like an epiphany for me, and I would say it happened maybe within the last year, and I've never really spoken about it because I wasn't sure. And I'm definitely pro-life at this point. However, I just think that you don't force other people to pay for things you want to do, and you have to live with your conscience if you decide to take that life away.
Yeah, I'm with you on that too. Like at a very basic level, I think the government should not be giving any money to Planned Parenthood at all.
Yeah.
They make they make a lot of money already, and they also give a lot of money, especially to the Democrats. So it's like, let's make Planned Parenthood decide. If you're really not an abortion clinic, like you say you're not, then don't take the money and keep doing all your other services, or, admit to what's really going on there and how many they're doing a ton of abortions. It's kind of like, there's no reason government money should be going to that. I agree with you on that as well.
Okay. I think I was thinking of making a video when it arrives because it hasn't yet. But I bought myself like a pocket constitution. I thought you might like that because I have trouble remembering the amendments that aren't like first, second, 13th. Like it's hard for me to remember all of them, and I just thought it was it was a pocket constitution plus the Bill of Rights. So that's quite exciting for me that I think a lot of people will love Harry.
That's very exciting.
Is doing
You're
that.
carrying around a pocket constitution now.
Well, I don't know if I'll carry it around with me. I don't want to seem like a like a go hard person. But I do want to. It's funny because I want to have it with me because I'm like in this country and like this is something that's so important and people argue about this all the time. And it's good to know, like what the historical basis for the society that you're living in is. It's such a strong part of what makes, in my opinion, I just had a conversation earlier with someone today who didn't think this, but in my opinion, it makes America what it is today.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there's a reason that the country's done so well. Like the Constitution is a really special thing. And it's a shame that we're seeing so many people, especially left-leaning and the younger people, that just don't even know about it, don't even know what their rights are and why we've come so far and like what these rights actually do. Just to say, oh, get rid of the guns, repeal the Second Amendment. It's like you don't even know what that means in a bigger scale. I'm wondering, what do you think about 2018 elections coming up? The left thinks they have a blue wave coming. The right, I don't know. I don't know. It's like it's tough to get a pulse in the people just because we're like the silent majority or whatever. But like, what do you think is going to happen in 2018 elections?
That's actually a hard question. I think it's dependent on people like us and what happens in social media, because of the curation that's happening in the public square, in quotations, nowadays, like Twitter and YouTube. I think that has a big influence on the kind of information that gets out there that's apart from the mainstream media, people criticizing or casting it in a doubtful light. And it doesn't seem so authoritative anymore. I do think that it's very, in terms of the left's hold over academia and universities and pumping out lots of young people who feel like they can say anything and get lots of support. What's that guy's name? David Hogg. That's a big liability and an asset for the left, just their control over popular culture. But I think the right could win. I don't know. Sorry.
No, it's cool. Yeah, it's tough. I'm with you too. I think a lot does have to do with whatever happens with the social media censoring. And obviously we had Zuckerberg this week with his testimony, and it's like the next few weeks when it comes to social media it will be important. Hopefully we can get this toxic algorithm down that limits the right and shuts people down and shuts the voices down. But the right is always more silent, though. So it's like you think, the left's so loud, oh, they're coming out to vote. And the right seems like it's not as excited about it. But then when voting day comes, hopefully the people will show up, which I think they will. Do you think there's any left-leaning candidates that would be a good presidential candidate for 2020?
I don't know enough to say that, and I probably wouldn't be a fan of anybody.
Maybe Oprah. Yeah.
Oh gosh, when I heard about that,
I think
um,
that's maybe one of their best bets. Or like The Rock, I think is thinking about it.
oh yes, I also heard about that. I think they're terrible choices, but I think they might be elected just because of how things are looking in the cultural landscape. The Rock, maybe not so much. I don't know much about his political views. But I think that people in entertainment are used to pandering to their audiences, and that's not what politics needs. So,
Yeah.
and then Oprah, I think that's just going to be an identity politics game. It's just like who she represents, and I guess she's a businesswoman, and Trump was a businessman. And I think it's very possible that either of them could get elected, especially Oprah, and I hope not. It will be very entertaining if that happens. I'm not saying that this doesn't have real consequences, but it will be very entertaining.
Oh yeah, I agree.
I agree in terms of using all their cards. So I think that's it. We're at 43 minutes. Thanks for coming on and talking to me. I really enjoy your channel from what I've seen, and I hope that you're very successful in it and in expanding and doing what you're doing.
Thank you. I wish the same for you, and I wanted to thank you for having me on. It was great to finally talk to you in person.